Hi, I'm Dena McClure, and this is The Bigger Picture. And today we are going to be discussing the generations and the race that is set before them to run your race. Today I want to welcome my dear friend and really family, she's like family, Donné Clement Petruska. And she's joining me from California, and I've been so looking forward to this time with you because this isn't our first time to do this, and we always have so much fun when we sit down and just start talking about the things of God and let God just take us on a journey. And so I wanted to have you on so other people can jump in there with us and be blessed. And my heart today is to really inspire people to run a race. And we're going to cover a lot of territory, but I just want to read a couple of scriptures before we get started, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
In Hebrews 12, verse 1, it says, "Therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance." It's a race of endurance, the race that is set before us. And I was sharing with you how I believe every generation has a race, and we as individuals have our race. And I talked not too long ago with Natasha Hen as a millennial, the race that she's running. I've been talking about the baby boomer generation, my generation, and the race that God is calling us to run. And I wanted to bring you on as a Generation X. You know, you're the age of my children. In fact, let me tell you a little bit about Donné. When in 1982, we moved to South Africa by invitation of her father, Kim Clement. And we traveled for 1 year and worked together. And Donné was like 3 years old. Keisha was 4. Eli was 3. And these kids grew up together along with all the other Clement kids. And so I've watched Donné grow up into the woman she is and step into the role that she is in right now. Really, Donné, you've taken your father's baton in the race. He passed that baton to you, and you are running that race now. And we're going to get to that. But I just want to welcome you to the bigger picture and just say, just feel free to just go wherever the Holy Spirit leads you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm in my little prayer garden, and you can see behind me over there my dad's fountain that he had in his prayer garden, and I inherited that. So this is a very special place for me. This is where I pray, and so I thought it would be fitting to sit here and talk to you.
Perfect. And I hear the birds in the background, so it's wonderful.
The
Yeah,
dogs.
and really from day one, and I believe that mantle is on you now. From when I first met Kim, that man was faithful in his prayer life, like 3 times a day at least. He would I don't care who was over, he'd excuse himself, and he'd go to his prayer closet. But then in the latter years, he created this beautiful garden, and that has been in you, hasn't it?
Yes.
To create that place.
I mean, he was so dedicated, like you said, no matter what was going on, 3 times a day. Sometimes God would wake him up in the middle of the night. If it was 4 a.m, he'd go out there. And I've even found in his computer and in his phone video he would take when he would be praying, sometimes very early in the morning.
Wow.
And he would light a little fire. And or if it would be the afternoon, he would see something beautiful, or something was going on, or sometimes he'd be writing a song. I found so much stuff in his computer and his phone and all that stuff. And when he got sick, the first thing he said to me was, "Get my journals." Once he'd woken up after the first stroke, he said, "Get my journals, get my computers, get my phone, get everything." And there's just a wealth of stuff in there that's very precious. And so as I slowly release footage of him, I also have this extra stuff. And so I created a podcast called Secrets Podcast. And I talk about kind of that extra stuff in there. So God's really been leading me in how to manage all of this stuff, because the one thing about my dad is he was a prophet. So everything he did was for the future. And, a lot of people have, I've spoken about this a few times now. A lot of people have come to me and said, "Oh, well, your dad is gone. You need to let go, focus on your future." But my future is deeply intertwined with that of his, and of what he was doing. And so I feel that in the season I'm in right now, it's to really focus on what he was prophesying, what he was doing, and also the time span in which he lived. So you're talking about generations.
Right.
When he was born and when he passed, what was going on in the world then? Why would God send him in that time period, very specifically 60 years, and then focus on not just one little prophecy here, one little prophecy here, one little prophecy here, but look at a whole. What was that message? Because it was in preparation for where we are now.
Right.
So because my dad was a prophet, I feel that the exact thing I need to be doing right now, and this is also teaching me so much, preparing me so much for the next season.
Because I know you have listened, especially right after he passed, you have spent these last few years listening to his tapings, his recordings, his TV show, and you have saturated yourself in the things he said and prophesied and preached.
Yes, and when he was alive, obviously I was watching it, but it meant something different, and I saw it in a different way.
Of course.
After he passed away, and it was also, it helped me through the grieving process.
Yeah, because that was a dark time. I mean, and as Christians, we can say that. It's okay, people. You know, when he passed, we grieved, and the family grieved. And the thing that you got handed, Donné, was the baton of his ministry, which the complex, decisions that had to be made of what do we do now, and knowing that he, it couldn't be what it was, but it was meant to carry on. And you stepped up and you took that upon yourself, didn't you?
And I mean, when he was sick, I didn't have very much experience speaking in front of people. But somebody from the family had to communicate with the people what was going on with him. He had a very close relationship with everyone who followed his ministry. He really invited people in a very personal way into his life, and everybody knew all about our family.
Kim could make you feel like you were the most important person to him. Like I've listened to people, and they always say, I had such a special relationship with Kim Clement because he had a gift. He had a gift of making people feel special, and it wasn't fake. It was real from his heart.
He genuinely cared about each and every one of them, and so knowing that, I had to just get up there and communicate with the people what was going on. I didn't expect to keep doing that in my life. I just thought at the time, I've got to, stand in the gap here, keep everybody informed about what's going on with my dad, try to understand why this is happening and what is happening.
And what is the ministry going to look like now?
Yes. And
what's it supposed to look like?
After he had the first stroke, it was like, okay, there's going to be a recovery period and then he'll be back.
Right. We all
thought that.
Then he had
another stroke. And then it's the whole thing. It really was just so unpredictable, and what is going to happen and what is going on here. And during the middle of all of this, I am in such a desperate state for my dad, because I was juggling my time between being up there at the office, going to the hospital, and then to the house, and helping take care of him, as well as taking care of my own two very young children. My son was a year old when my dad got sick. My daughter was 2.5. So there was a lot going on to try to juggle all at once. And then I was in a place where late at night, I would just, when everyone went to bed, I would just fall on my face and pray and really cried out to God. And I was in a desperate place. So
because there were a lot of voices coming of, people, friends, family, enemies, that had their 2 cents worth of what you should do, and it really forced you and your mom, and not that you didn't before, but you really had to step back in your spirit and hear what God was saying. And you know, Donné, I've watched you step into this role and step up into this place. You would have been happy being behind the scenes the rest of your life, you know, doing what you did. You were your dad's writer.
Very comfortable.
You've always been a scribe. You've always been a writer. You got that gift from your dad, but you stepped in and you've done it with dignity and with grace. And I really see that this has been a holding pattern over these last few years. But you know, I've been through grief, and you know, we both went through it together. We would call each other with the losses we've had over the last 3 years. But really, I've come out on the other side of it with Kim. I grieved deeply, and your grandmother, you know, Gloria. She was like a mom, you know. And then my dad, and then my sister Amy, just like in 3 years, you know. But as you know, we've come. It's like we're on the other side of it now. You always carry your loved ones forward with you. You don't move on from your loved ones. You just move forward, you know. But moving forward, I believe God has begun to do some dynamics and some changes and really begin to bring clarity. Tell us about some of the things you're doing now. I know the YouTube channel, the podcast on Mondays. Tell them what you release every Monday. We're going to put your information up because you are worth following, because what you're putting out there is quality. I mean, and it's timeless. It's absolutely timeless.
It really is. And so what I do on Mondays, every Monday, you can go to kim.tv, KIM.tv. And I put out a thing called Prophetic Rewind. And what I'm doing is I'm going back and finding footage of my dad, because I have a wealth of it, because he did an online broadcast at least twice a week.
Right.
So there's just footage of him for years. And then before that, you know, I have footage of him traveling all over the world, concerts in Israel. So I have about 30 years of footage of him.
Man alive.
Yeah. And so instead of releasing it in date order, which would be what you would expect, I'm releasing it as the Lord guides me. So what I do is, I'll pray every week, and I'll say, okay, you know, God, what is it that you want me? What is it that you want me to release? Sometimes a few weeks in advance, because I'll do a few of them, and God will just say to me, the blue shirt, and
Really?
Okay. So I'll go through. Where is he wearing a blue shirt?
Oh my
And he wore
goodness.
blue often, so it would be different. But then, okay, there's the blue shirt, and then he would have prophesied something that we're actually going through now that I've forgotten about.
My goodness.
Yes,
Because I want to interject this. I've known Kim for, 38 years, and I watched him towards the end without knowing what was coming. That man began to prophesy like a machine. It was coming fast and furious the last 3 or 4 years of his life. Would you agree?
Yes.
And and things that are happening and still yet to happen. So expound on that a little bit.
So this is where the YouTube channel comes in. We have the Kim Clement, the official Kim Clement YouTube channel that also releases Prophetic Rewind like a week later. Mm-hmm. And what's happening and what I'm seeing happening is how many people are being affected by seeing what he prophesied and then knowing what's happening right now.
Right.
So politically and in the world and specifically, I mean, just this past week, I put together a prophetic rewind on Putin and a spider web. And I realized, that if you look at the news right now, the whole Russia collusion thing, it does sort of seem like a spider web, doesn't it? It just seems like we're just kind of wrapped up in what is really going on. If you listen to any news on either side, it's just confusion.
And what do spider webs do? They snare their enemies and their prey.
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk too much about what's on that, just so that the prophetic rewind people can watch it.
Right.
Because it's really, I release it and then I'll say, okay, now I want you to pray about this. You see with your spiritual eyes, look at deeper at what, than
so you're training people of how to, because Kim prophesied sometimes in riddles. It's like puzzles. Like it wasn't just plain blatant straightforward. What made Kim so unique is that there would be words that wouldn't make too much sense in the moment, but man alive, when it started happening, you go, oh, this is that. And it was like in riddle form that you had to go. It was enigmas that the scriptures talk about, that you have to go in with a spirit of understanding like Daniel had and interpret it.
And so,
which makes it fun, I think.
It does. So something that happened, and this was a complete accident, is that I had like my YouTube account, my own one, which is under my name, Donné Clement Petruska. And I'd had it for years just so I could subscribe to different things on YouTube and watch stuff on YouTube. And I released a video of my dad prophesying Trump would be a trumpet. And this was in 2007 that he prophesied that. And he talked about the UN and corruption in the UN and how it was a stench to God's nostrils. YouTube didn't like very much the video. So I got scolded a little bit, but they didn't take it down.
Wow.
But what happened was I saw how many people were interested. So I do a different thing with my own YouTube channel than I do with the Kim Clement YouTube channel. So we do kind of cross share a little bit, but on my YouTube channel, you're going to see where I post stuff he's prophesied, a lot of it that has not come to pass yet. So the one that got 1 million hits off of my little page, and
how many?
1 million.
Okay. Wow.
Was him. I called it Drain the Swamp. And it was from February 22nd of 2014. And now this goes along with what you were saying about how his prophetic gift just catapulted and he was just prophesying like crazy. And it was just that day, February 22nd of 2014.
My birthday.
Is it? I knew your birthday was in February, but I didn't know it was that day.
Carry on.
So that day, he nailed it exactly. Everything that was going to happen in the elections, all the issues that were going to be dealt with. He was very specific about what God had asked Donald Trump to do. So it was, he called it the giants. How will we slay these giants? The giants of socialism, secular humanism, and debt.
Yeah.
And how, because
the debt one is interesting.
Years about the death to debt. And if you look at our economy right now, everybody's so focused on hating Donald Trump. They don't want to talk about the fact that the economy is doing fantastic right now.
Yes.
That unemployment has gone down considerably. People are getting jobs again. And then you have this counter, and there's always this counter from the enemy that is causing division and confusion. And, he really nailed it in what was going to happen. And some of the stuff hasn't happened yet. Like he said, 2 from the Supreme Court would step down from the embarrassment of what would happen. Now, there have been some Supreme Court things happening, but nobody stepped down from embarrassment that we know of yet. And so a lot of people will message me and say, this is going on in the Supreme Court. Maybe it's fulfilled. And I'm saying, no, wait.
You've learned with Kim's prophecies, hold.
Yes.
Hold that this isn't that. You will know when it is, but it can seem like it is, but it's not yet.
Right. So I do code breakers too, which they already had code breakers when my dad was alive and doing the broadcasts. They had code breakers, but I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do code breakers. I kind of present it as the news right now, like in a news kind of setting, not as the news, but in a news kind of setting, because what I'll do is I'll show you the prophecy and then I'll show you the news and kind of talk about it a little bit. I did do a 3-part series on socialism. And
which got a lot of hits. It
did because I went through the whole history of it and how it all goes back to Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
The story of Cain and Abel. It goes that far back. And so, I'm not going to go too deep into that or we'll talk all day. But that was something my dad pointed out that would be an issue, is that we would have to deal with the giant of socialism.
And he prophesied about Donald Trump coming in, but then he also said, and they will say, impeach, 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 but it won't happen. That's always been an encouragement to me as we're walking through all this.
I know, and he said that on February 22nd, 2014, on that same day. So that day was, I don't know what happened before, what happened in his prayer garden, what he was doing, but he went up there and it was incredible. And that's why it had a
Wow.
million hits, because so many, I've had people
Okay, now
message on.
yes, tell them this. I was going to ask you to tell this because I think this is very telling.
Yes, I've had people message on there and say, I'm not a Christian, I'm an atheist, but if there was ever a prophet, this man is a prophet. And so it's actually been able to, via YouTube, we've been able to reach a demographic of people we wouldn't have reached
But also
normally.
tell how people are writing going, I never knew of this person. I never knew of
Yes,
this
I
man.
mean,
Tell
he,
those stories.
so there's people that are writing to me saying, I never heard of your dad. I wish I'd known him when he was alive. He's ministering to my life. He's teaching me so much. I didn't understand any of this stuff. Thanking me for just releasing this stuff, and it's incredible because it's really helping people to understand the office of the prophet, which I think
Right.
is really not
It gets dumbed down and mingled with a prophetic gift, and there's all kinds of teaching out there, and hopefully I'm hoping to get to do some on this, but there is a definite difference,
Yes.
between that, and we say the office. It doesn't even say office in Ephesians. It talks about the fivefold ministry and the ascension gifts, but they are at another level. And it doesn't mean one's greater than the other. It's just different expressions and purposes, that God uses it for. All God's people can have a prophetic spirit. We all do, but a prophet is different, and that's another one of my passions. Don't get me into that one right now, because then we'll be on a whole nother.
True though, and I try to explain this to people. Is my dad really encouraged people to ignite the prophetic inside of them and use it in their personal lives. But there is a difference between the being called to be a prophet and being a prophetic people. So
Yes.
there is it's
Or
important.
even having a prophetic ministry. You can have a
Right.
prophetic ministry, have a high level of a prophetic gift, but that doesn't necessarily. And people can disagree with me. That's okay. We can agree to disagree. We don't need to get upset about it. We have the freedom as Americans and people of God to think differently, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily a prophet. See, rein me in, because I want to go there.
Pastor, I mean, your pastor may get a prophetic word. That doesn't mean it's not right. He's not accurate. Maybe God shows your pastor something.
Absolutely.
And he shares that with you.
Really, what distinguishes it is God gives a prophet a voice to nations, to leaders, to kings and kingdoms and networks and regions, and really the people seek after them for that voice. People that self-declare themselves as a prophet, I usually pull back from, because prophets don't have to go around declaring it. They just are,
Well, even my dad said himself, he did not call himself a prophet until after 9/11.
Wow. That's
So
interesting.
he was over the age of 40, and he had been prophesying for years, prophesying over people, but he never ever called himself that. And this is actually in Prophetic Rewind. If you go to kim.tv, the Prophetic Rewind will come up, and you'll see a little all the previous videos on the side. If you scroll down to the interview a week before 9/11, that is a great interview where he really explains what it means to be a prophet, and he addresses that about, he said, you have to be careful of people going out there just prophesying over each other, calling themselves prophets when they're not actually called to be a prophet. So again, this is where, we could go on all day, but it does, it shows you how misunderstood and little people actually know about the prophetic.
Donné, if people really knew what comes with the fivefold ascension gift of a prophet, I don't think they would. They're like, don't include me, because what I watched, the warfare I watched your dad go through and your family, was unbelievable. I hope I'm not crossing a line if I tell a little bit of a story in that. I know that Kim would prophesy things out, and he would prophesy what he's hearing. And I think if the story's right, one time he prophesied out, and he prophesied about a weapon in North Korea that was not known by anybody except our intelligence. And it got the attention of our, FBI or whoever, and they really started following him. And I remember traveling with Kim. I remember being in Detroit once, and Kim goes, "Don't look now, but the suits are following us." And sure enough, and you guys used to have cars pull up, and until finally they came in and actually vetted him. You know,
Yes.
yeah. So I
After
mean,
9/11, that's when it happened, because he had prophesied 9/11 in 1996. And what he said was, he saw the planes flying over Long Island. He talked about how this would be the mother of wars, which was a very interesting statement for him to make, especially considering last year Iran, they said to America, if you mess with us, it's going to be the mother of wars. So this prophecy, I'm just going to put this on a side note quickly. It wasn't just about 9/11. It's still extended. That one prophecy extended out to today. And what happened was, after 9/11 happened, they showed up at our house, the FBI did, and they were saying, how did you know? How did you know what was going on? And they had to vet him. They had to investigate him, and they obviously found out everything was fine. He didn't know anybody or anything. God told him.
But he would give. He never made it public. He never boasted in any way. The people, the dignitaries, and the officials, and the political figures that he actually had personal time with, and gave prophecies to, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of them, and he knew how to.
You know, to me, that is a prophet. You know, and we've had some in our lifetime, but nevertheless, Donné, I want to bring this full circle, because you, my dear, have picked up a baton, and what this is going to look like. You know, I've always been jealous to contend for you that other people don't put on you what was on your dad. That's not what you've been called to do.
No.
You're called to carry his message, but you're not called to be him.
No, I can't be him.
No.
And I feel like it would be insulting of me to try. My dad was a beautiful, unique, incredible man that I don't want anybody to be like him, because God doesn't work that way. He doesn't make copies of, God is constantly creating.
Well, that's why I entitled this broadcast, Run Your Race.
Yes.
And this is your race. Listen, girl, we're running out of time. I'm going to, you know what? Let's go ahead and pray. I want to get you to pray over Generation X and your generation, of what God is doing in them and through them right now. And I'll just agree with you.
Okay. All right. So, Lord, we come before you today, and we lift up this generation that everyone has given up on. And I think of Jacob's wife when she gave birth, as I'm praying this, and how she called, as she died, she called her son of sorrow. And Jacob intervened, and he said, no, I will not call him son of sorrow. I will call him son of my right hand, Benjamin. And so today, as everyone wants to call this generation a generation of sorrow and give up on them, that I will stand up for them, and all of us will, who recognize what God is going to do in them, regardless of how it looks right now. And I would like to speak life over them, and in your name declare them the sons and daughters of your right hand of honor. And that is what I declare over them today. And that is what I see, regardless of what our circumstances look like now. We know, God, that you have a plan for this generation. And so we will stand up for them and recognize the future that you have for them, and the necessity to give them a voice, to guide them and show them the truth in a world that's full of confusion and lies. And so we stand before you today, and we lift this generation up in your name. And we see a great and mighty future for them. And we will not give up on them. Amen.
Amen. I love you, my darling. And we need to do this again, okay? This has been wonderful. Thank you for, coming on and being willing to take time aside to be on the bigger picture.
Oh, anytime. I love it.
Okay.
And I love you.
Okay. Bye.
In Dena's teaching, The 7 Expressions of the Spirit of God, Dena reveals the intimate relationship Jesus walked in with the Holy Spirit. She shares how you too can walk in the same intimate relationship that Christ had, and how you can receive the same power and authority. We're making this 3-part teaching available to you through on-demand, downloads, DVDs, and flash drives.